What's up, guys? Someone asked me to do this, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to get too in detail with it because that's like a seminar type of vibe. But a lot of bass players have been hitting me up and asking me and telling me their frustrations about not knowing. It's an issue that faces a lot of bass players, and it's not knowing what to practice. And it's a big problem because what you practice eventually is what you will become. And you have to be very cognizant of that. Because a lot of bass players have hit a brick wall and they don't know how to get around it, but the problem is they won't admit it. These guys hit me up, at least 7 to 8 of them at different times, and told me their frustration. And when you hit a brick wall, you got to figure out a way around it, or you just be staring at it the rest of your life. And a lot of times the ego get in the way because guys don't want to just say that they lost, admit that they lost. And a lot look to Instagram and social media to try to figure it out at what everyone else is doing. What everyone else is doing ain't necessarily what's right. If you're just looking at a post, because a lot of these posts are just you seeing people do cover tunes. Cover tunes. When you keep doing cover tunes, do you know what's happening to your mind? You're training your mind to do what? To duplicate. That is what you become, a great duplicator. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, and I say this out of love, why am I just being called for the tour and not for the record? There's a reason why. A lot of times they don't call you for the record because they don't think that you have the creativity to add to what they're doing. If they thought that, trust me, you would be on the record. And a lot of times you're showing them just by what you post, what you're about. When you do a record, you got to you got to be creative. And that comes from what? What you practice. You got to challenge yourself to go into a room and say, I'm not leaving until I create something on my bass. I'm going to come up with a bass line. I'm going to come up with a melody. It don't have to be nothing great. Remember, simplicity is beautiful. Women that are simple can be just as beautiful as they want to be. Simplicity goes a long way. So stop downplaying simplicity, because if you really want to know the truth, if you do your homework out of some of the top 100 bass lines ever, most influential bass lines ever, they were all simple. So let's just throw that out there. Years ago, somebody came and taught a song to Love Fellowship. It had just a basic intro. Really wasn't even called an intro. I decided, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to create a bass intro for the song. It's going to be dope. It's going to be dope. I went home into my room in the basement of my parents' home in Laurelton, Queens. And I kept shedding away. No interruptions. And somehow I came up with something, and I dotted all my I's and T's and made sure my S's was slanted and blah, blah, blah. And I got up the nerve, and I went and I taught it. Said, hey, I got an intro. Stood up in front of the whole choir, and that song's How Much We Can Bear. The rest is history. You got to do the same thing. I didn't know it was going to become what it did. You can't do it thinking you're going to be great and it's going to be legendary. You can't think of it like that because you don't know what's going to be legendary. But what your job is just to make the song as dope as possible. It's like wringing out a towel. You don't want somebody to come behind you and wring out more water. You want that joint to be dry like it's sat in a 90-degree sun all day. Nothing left. That's your job as a musician, is to get all the water out that towel. That's when you're doing an original song. And if somebody comes behind you and can get more water out, you do your job. But at the same time, there's some people that are always going to be greater than you. Their minds are just more creative than you. You can't take that personal. But you have to try to get all the water out that towel. So, if I were you guys, I would study what worked. Study the bass lines that worked in music. 70s, the 80s, the 90s. All them bass lines from the R&B in the 90s. Reggae bass lines from the 90s. Those Jameson stuff. I mean, it's just endless, the stuff you can practice. Any genre, you want jazz, it's there. You want gospel. Crazy, 90s was just dominated bass lines of gospel. You got R&B, you got even hip hop. There's stuff there for you. But you gotta have the discipline to put your phone down. Stop worrying about what's going on social media. These people ain't thinking about you. Go practice, for real. You're not practicing when you're sitting there looking at your phone on Facebook Live, or you live. Everybody come in. That's not practicing. That's a little get together. Might as well get some liquor and light up a cigar. Y'all just chill and talk. That's all y'all doing. You're not challenging your mind. If you practice, you gotta challenge your mind. You should be dripping sweat just from thinking of how you can get better. That's practicing. It's not sitting there, yeah, man, what up, son? I'm coming your way next week, son. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, it's going down, son. Yeah, man, yo, what up, G? What up? That's not practicing. Are you kidding me? What is that? That's a friendly get-together. And then you wonder why you ain't getting no better. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, hey, everything starts with the man in the mirror. Saida Garrett wrote that song for a reason. Look in the mirror. That could be the reason why you ain't getting no better. Because you lack discipline. You gotta be disciplined for anything that you want to achieve. Anything. It don't matter. Later for music, sports. Be the dopest lawyer. Barack Obama said he was gonna be president. He had to be disciplined. Be a dentist. Anything. Dancer. Discipline. No discipline, no success. Only you know what you're gonna get with no discipline. You're gonna get a bunch of excuses and a bunch of regrets the older you get. You might be 25 or 30 now, but you blink 3 times, you're gonna be 45. You're gonna be 55. Too late. Just about too late. What you practice is what you will become. So if I was you, I would change the stuff. Can't keep doing stuff that doesn't work. You gotta do what works. Practice is hard work. So I hope this helped. Hope I wasn't too hard, but I was just trying to be honest and truthful. Somebody asked me to do it, so I did it. But be careful what you practice. Be careful who you hang around. You become who you hang around as well. Like I said earlier in another post, when you're young, you gotta be careful of the musician you surround yourself around, because that can make you or it could break you. If you're a true musician, you know what's dope and what's not. So go practice. Enough looking at me. Take care, guys.